Today we'll talk about mapping subdivisions. I'm going to start out by reviewing a few topics from our past webinars. We've talked about ways to get into the Pro Parcel Fabric, either by upgrading your ArcMap fabric or migrating non-parcel fabric data into the Pro Parcel Fabric. Along with that, we've talked about numerous record-driven workflows for editing your data. Of course, the record is the main part of the Pro Parcel Fabric. It kind of starts right there. We've also talked about some ways to improve your data quality with some quality-driven workflows. And we've also discussed branch versioning, which is required with the enterprise environment with a Pro Parcel Fabric. So as I said, branch versioning is required with an enterprise environment. With an enterprise deployment, you need to have an enterprise geodatabase that matches up with a Parcel Fabric version and the minimum Pro and enterprise releases. You could also do a single user deployment using a file geodatabase. And the Parcel Fabric in Pro requires a standard or advanced license. This table shows the alignment that you need with what Parcel Fabric version that you have, along with your Pro software and your enterprise release. So you want to have everything matched up. And it's important to note that the Parcel Fabric versions are not backwards compatible. This image shows this is a diagram showing the Pro Parcel Fabric data model. Records are at the center of this model, with the Parcel Fabric controlling layers associated with it, which includes topology, attribute rules, or error features, along with within the umbrella of the record, you have points and connection lines, as well as lines and polygons for each parcel type that you have. So that could be tax parcels, lots, subdivisions, PLSS. So there are lines and polygons that serve those parcel type layers. So some of the record-driven workflows that have been discussed in the past, creating and managing records, that's going to be step one. Creating parcels from a traverse, merging or splitting parcels. And then another that we'll talk about a little bit today is building parcels from CAD Lines. Some of the quality-driven workflows that you might look into would be topology, attribute rules, least squares adjustment. And Esri also has some newer tools allowing you to view your data quality through configured data quality layers, or they also have tools for gap and overlap detection. Okay, for our record-driven workflow we'll talk about today, building parcels from CAD Lines. I'm just going to go through a couple of the steps here. Of course, first step that you want to do is, no matter which workflow you're doing, you want to either create a parcel record or make sure that you are working in an active parcel record. So that's going to be step one for all of your workflows. The next step, locating your work area. So you could navigate to the work area on your own, or you can also use the locate tool. And before I continue, I can also want to add that in ArcGIS Pro, there are some built-in tasks set up for these workflows. So if you open up a task, say we open up a task here for build parcels from CAD Lines, Step one in that task is going to allow you to create that parcel record. You click next, you go to step 2, and this is your opportunity to locate your work area. If you can either navigate to it on your own, or you can use the locate tool. You could also skip this step if you need to. Step 3 is adding your CAD data or your CAD lines to the map. So this step allows you don't have to add the entire CAD file, just the lines. And then if necessary, you could also georeference the CAD lines if you need to. The next step is selecting the CAD lines with the select tool. Step 5, and I think this is an important tool no matter which workflow you're using, and that is copying lines to the active record. So there is in the Records feature tab in ArcGIS Pro, when you have a parcel fabric, there is a Copy Lines To tool. And you also want to make sure that you check the box for showing only the active record. The next step is to edit and clean the CAD line. So there might be some cases where you need to extend or trim lines, possibly delete some lines. But then once you have your data cleaned up, you then need to create parcel seeds, which is another tool in the records gallery in ArcGIS Pro. Creating parcel seeds is the next step to building your parcels in the active record, which is step 7. Once you have your parcel seeds, you can create the you can click the build active tool, and that will build parcel polygons or lot polygons in some cases, whichever you choose, and that creates it in the active record. The final step in this process, in this task, is to sequentially assign attributes. So if you're putting in a subdivision from CAD Lines and lots are numbered, say from 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 or however many lots there are, you can use this sequential numbering tool where you enter in which layer that you are using, the field to use that'll be used for the lot naming or parcel naming, the format and the start value, as well as the increment. So if we are putting in this subdivision from lots 1 to 10, our starting value will be 1, and we are incrementing by 1. So simply by drawing a path in order of the lots, we can then add those lot values or parcel values or whatever the label is onto the polygons and onto the map. So that is a quick overview of building parcels from CAD Lines. Okay, next I'm going to hop out of the PowerPoint here, and we're going to go into ArcGIS Pro. Okay, and before we get into Pro, the first part of the demo, I want to take a quick look at a subdivision plat, just kind of to go over what's on a plat. So on the plat, you have the map of the subdivision, includes your information about the lots, lot numbers, lot dimensions, right of way. So when you start out, I just recommend, reviewing your plat, reviewing the legal description that comes along with the plat. Find out where your starting points are, your point of beginning. Hopefully you can have some information to tie it into a control point. So just step one, review the plat, take a look at it, get to know the data and how you're going to map it. Okay, so we're going to start out creating a subdivision. Again, this is step one of any record-driven workflow. We want to create a parcel record. So we can go into our heads-up display here at the top of the top left corner of the map, and we can either create a record or we can manage records. I'm going to click on manage records. If we do have a record already established, we could search for it. There's a few different queries here in which we could find our record name. In this case, I'm just going to click on create record. We're going to create a new record and provide a name here. Cedar Valley. This information you can get from that subdivision plat. For instance, if that we can get the recorded date from the plat. I'm just going to choose a date from the recent past. Choose the COGO accuracy. Provide a description here. Surveyor name, company, when it was surveyed. So these are some attributes that you can add into your record. I'm going to click create. And we are now, we now have Cedar Valley as our active record. The active record will display in the heads up display, and that can be toggled on and off here with this button. Okay, so we have our record established. We don't need to search for our area. I've already navigated to our area of interest. And our next step is to create the outline of the subdivision boundaries. So to do that, we want to go into our records tab up here in ArcGIS Pro and choose the traverse tool. For our layer, I'm going to choose simultaneous conveyance, and I'm going to set a starting point. Our next step is to add in, from that starting point, we're going to add in our bearings, direction and distance from our plat. And I didn't have a plat for this subdivision. I kind of created my own for the demonstration. So the plat's not going to look exactly like I have this image here on the right, but it's just gives an overview of what's the information that you need to enter in. So I'm going to enter in this first line, 022-39, and my direction is southeast with quadrant bearing. That is going to be in quadrant 1. I'm sorry, in quadrant 2. And our distance 1324.37. Okay, in order to move the webinar along and not to be here for quite a while, to fit in the half-hour constraints, I have gone ahead and already mapped the subdivision boundary. But I guess before I continue with that, I want to discuss after we get the subdivision boundary in, and we would then create a parcel seed for it and build the parcel. Once we do that, we can then start out by getting into subdivision lots. But the first step that I've found is the best way to do it, I guess a better practice, is to enter the road right-of-way first. So entering the road right-of-way would be done in the same way as using this traverse tool, entering in bearings, both lines and curves for that. And our result here, I'm going to switch my map. So this is after we've created our subdivision polygon, and we've entered in our right-of-way lines using the traverse tool. So once we've arrived at this point, we want to then start adding in our lots. And we do that with first we want to select a line. So if we start out with this line using the divide tool is going to be an important tool here for the process of mapping the subdivision lots. Okay, so I'm going to start out. I'm going to switch back to my edit tab. Okay, I'm going to go back to the divide tool. Okay, I'm dividing off the right-of-way area from that line first. And then I'm going to switch over to my lots image here. And using the divide tool, for values, you want to choose varying distances. So if we go along to divide that line from the start, we want to enter in our lot dimensions along that line. So I'll enter in 130 4 times. I think before I need to do that, I need to clear my selection and just select one line. All right, we will start there, click divide. And then I will select this line again. So now we've divided those top 4 lots here with those dimensions. And the idea would be you can do that on either side of the right-of-way here to get the lots mapped in your subdivision. You could also enter in a parallel line, draw in a parallel line, as long as all of your lines are parallel there. And I'm going to move ahead again here in our demonstration. I'm going to click save. I just realized I was not in an active record, but I toggle that on. All right, so let's toggle that on here. Set that as the active record. After we've done our mapping of the lots, this will be the result of the lot lines, which are in the conveyance division layer. The next step will be to We want to create parcel seeds from these lots. Before we do that, let's make sure we copy those to our conveyance division layer. Create seeds. So those the small blue polygons are the parcel seeds. And then we can click the Build Active tool to build our lot polygons. Similarly, in a subdivision, the lot polygons may also correspond with the text parcel polygons. So this would be an example. We could then copy those lines to the text parcel lines and then create the polygons in the same way with the Create Seeds tool and Build Active. Okay, and the final part of the demonstration here is sequential numbering. So we want to select our sequential numbering tool. Okay, so we're going to choose our layer, in this case, conveyance division. Field will be name. It's a number format. We're going to start at lot 1 and increment by 1. And then it's constructing a line, kind of going through those polygons in order of the lot numbering. So I'm going to zoom in the map here, and our lots are now numbered. And one more thing to show, we can also, if we need to, using our COGO tab, we can update COGO on any lines that that may need it. So you need to do a selection, click update, and now your COGO attributes for bearings and distances are up to date.